Hello again. I don't have my fancy helpers here, so it's just me. Just videotaping myself in an empty room. Pretty sad. Hope everyone's doing all right. Miss you guys. This has been a fun class for me so far. I'm really disappointed that we don't get to have this part in a classroom. I was excited about it just because of the interaction that we've had already, and the stories that we would tell, the communication and the feedback and stuff. You guys have been awesome online. It's just not the same as you and I know, right? So realistically, we're talking about a topic that is pretty important right now. Things have changed drastically. How society is working is something that I've never experienced. Your parents have probably never experienced. Your grandparents have probably never experienced. In terms of things being shut down completely and not being able to go out and socialize, which is what this course is about, which is terrible. Because I'm socializing with an iPad. So the fact of the matter is, sociology is the study of human behavior, the patterns of social behavior, and how people interact with each other. And think of how that's happening right now. I'm apparently interacting with you, but I'm not, because there's a piece of plastic looking back at me instead of 24 faces, right? So unfortunately, I can't do the same thing as we would in class. We can't do the same activities which revolve on kind of movement and getting ideas going around the room and stuff, which is unfortunate. But, if you're bored, which you probably are, and you maybe have sisters or brothers or parents or whoever's around you, maybe you can do some of these activities with them just to hear different perspectives on things. I'm older than you. My classroom is all female. I'm a different gender. I have a different perspective on things. I came from a different time than you did, that your parents did. Okay, so ask your parents on their perspective on, music, art, values, morals. Why do they know these things? Where do you get your ideas from? Is it because you were the first person to think about them, or were you taught things by parents and schools and grandparents and friends on the playground? Okay, what you learn kind of creates who you are, and how we socialize has a major impact on who you are today, right? So this first unit of sociology is all about what perspective is, how do people perceive things. And I usually start this class out by just saying, here's some statements. What do you think? Some of the ones that I would ask for and ask you to move around the room to agree or disagree would be, do you think schools should just focus on preparing students for universities? Okay, there's a big split in agree and disagree, because not everybody goes to university. But the ones who go to university think the school should. Okay, should you be allowed to take every class in high school? No compulsory courses. You choose. How many of you think you would make good decisions for your future? How many of you know exactly what you want to do after high school or for a profession? Because all of you will be, right? So that's the thing. Okay, perspectives change. When I was in school, I wanted to be a veterinarian. Okay, and then I went and job shadowed a vet and realized, I can't be around sick animals all the time. I like them too much. Then I wanted to be an architect. And then, unfortunately, Sarah, you have to be good at math. So there goes that out the window. So then as an archaeologist, all right, I still love that stuff. But it wasn't until I started coaching that I realized I really like what I do, and I really like the feeling of people learning from me. And it's kind of a reward for me. So personally, I have the best job in the world. I get to come and hang out with you great people and, you know, teaches stuff that I think is cool. I can't speak for every teacher, but that's the way it is, right? Whew. So, perspective, specifically sociology. You would all have a different one. There would be some patterns though. Judging that you're all teenage girls, there would be some patterns in terms of how that would affect our conversations, because I'm not a teenage girl, right? But in terms of certain things that we would talk about, I bet you it would be very different in terms of the answers I've ever had before in this class. So I'm just going to jump into this, okay? What is perspective? What is sociological perspective? Again, we're looking at groups of people. So if some of you who have taken psychology or will take psychology, hopefully you should, because it would be well-rounded. Sociology and psychology would kind of fit all that stuff together. Psychology is about the individual and how you think individually. Sociology is how we kind of think and what are the patterns about that, okay? Group behavior. You know, would our group in our class behave differently than other classes? Okay? Would our group at Massey behave differently than a school in Australia? Okay? Or in the North End? Okay? It really depends. Okay? So it's seeing, you know, trying to see the general in terms of how each and every one of you are incredibly unique. So what are the kind of the general aspects that help us behave properly in society so that we don't get in trouble or follow social norms and things like that, right? So the first activity I would have had you do is create a drawing from this classroom to the gymnasium at our school, okay? That's the only thing I would have had you do, okay? So you should go for it, try it, and then ask yourself, is this the only way I can get there? No matter how terrible your drawing is, think about from my classroom the multiple ways. Like, you're not going to go up to the third floor and then out the man and then down and jump out a window and round around the building. That's not necessary. But you could go towards the office, you could go through the cafeteria, or you could go towards the back doors on the second floor and around and come up through the dance room. Okay, and think about it. Why did you choose that route? There's got to be a reason. Personally, I would go the back doorway because I just don't like walking in crowded hallways with teenagers. Okay, I don't need to go through the cafeteria to say hello to all my friends. Okay, I want to take the fast route. I would rather drive farther in a car to avoid traffic than going through traffic. I hate traffic. That's my reason. Maybe some of you want to say hello to your friends and choose the cafeteria. Okay? So there would be a different perspective on a very different thing, right? Now, social structure. This would be pattern interactions in relationships, right? So this is another activity right away, back-to-back activities that I would have done with you, starting with the top questions. So I would like you to answer these 6 questions. Some of them just need numbers, and some of them could be categorized, like, for example, what you did at 4 o'clock could be like, well, I was transporting myself on a normal school day. Of course, we're not transporting ourselves, we're not allowed to go outside. But were you walking home? Were you taking the bus home? Were you getting a ride? Were you at sports practice? Were you doing some sort of hobby? Were you doing homework? Were you eating? Were you taking a nap? Were you consuming media of any kind? And that could be consistent with what you did after 9 o'clock. And that could be consistent, those are the only 2 where try to categorize them, like media, sports, were you working, okay, something like that. And again, we can't compare the data. What I would have done is asked you and kind of put it up all on the board and see if we could come up with any patterns as to this group. Are there any patterns? For example, I bet you most of us got up around the same time. And I bet you most of us ate around the same time, okay? I would imagine, like, again, me being different, you are on your own, maybe you were doing different things. Like, I go home and pick up my kids. I hope you're not picking up your kids at 4 o'clock, okay? So what time you go to bed, again, probably very different between you and me, okay? But there would be, this whole whiteboard would be filled with data, and we would be talking about, okay, are there any patterns here? Now, if we asked every single person in the school, would their data be about the same? Data is very important to find these patterns, right? Think about when the most popular, if you ever watch TV, not Netflix or something, turn on TV, when are the most popular shows on television? Generally when more people are there, okay? Look at who watches things like the Discovery Channel and National Geographic, okay? What kind of commercials do they have specifically for those people? Traveling, cameras, you know, products that support, you know, airlines and things like that, right? If you watch kids' cartoons, it's all about cereal and toys, okay? There you are. So if we were to ask, Kelvin, these same questions, okay, would they have about the same answers? I would imagine, yeah. There would be some anomalies, of course. Think about, well, if I have a period 1 spare, am I here at 8 o'clock? Maybe, but maybe not, right? So those would be some kind of effectors, right? But the bulk of people, I bet you the data wouldn't change. Okay? I'm gonna end this video here and start a new one just because this is a crazy topic too, okay? One of